Hi students, good evening. So welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to see 8th standard English unit 3 supplementary, the 3 questions which was written by Leo Tolstoy. So see the first section. There was a king who had 3 questions in his mind, that if he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who were the right people to listen to and whom to avoid, and above all, if he always knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. So in this section we are talking about a king who had 3 questions in his mind. What were the 3 questions? So see the questions. What was the right time for every action? So what's the first question? What was the right time for every action? And see the second question. Who were the most necessary people? So that was the second question. Who were the most necessary people? And the last one, what was the most important thing to do? So these are all the 3 questions which he had in his mind. So he wanted to know the answers for these questions. And this thought having occurred to him, he had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action, and who were the most necessary people, and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. So he wanted to know the answers for these questions. So he proclaimed throughout his kingdom. So proclaimed means what? Announced publicly. So he announced this question publicly throughout the kingdom, and also he announced that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action, and who were the most necessary people, and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. So after hearing that announcement, so many learned men came to the king, but they all answered his question differently. In reply to the first question, some said that to know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days, months and years, and must live strictly according to it. So many learned men came to the kingdom, and they gave answers for the first question. So some set of people said that if you want to know the right time for every action, you should draw up a timetable, and you should live according to that timetable. Then only it is easier for you to find out the right time for every action. Only thus, said they, could everything be done at its proper time. So then only you can do your work in a proper time. Others declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action, but that not letting oneself be absorbed in idle pastimes, one should always attend to all that was going on and then do what was most needful. So another set of groups, another set of learned men opposed this answer, and they said it is not possible to decide beforehand the right time for every action. So because if you have a timetable, you don't find any pastime, any free time to do your regular activity. So it is not possible to decide beforehand the right time for every action. Others again said that however attentive the king might be to what was going on, it was impossible for one man to decide correctly the right time for every action. So, and also another set of learned men said it is not possible to find out what was going on, and also it is not possible for a single man to decide correctly the right time for every action. So he should appoint a council of wise men who would help him to fix the proper time for everything. So one set of learned men suggest to have a council of wise men to fix a proper time for everything. But then again others said there were something which could not wait to be laid before a council, but about which one had at once to decide whether to undertake them or not. And another set of learned men said, even though he was a king, he should decide whether to follow the instruction which was given by the council of wise men. So he should decide whether to undertake them or not. But in order to decide that, one must know beforehand what was going to happen. So if you want to know the proper time for every action, you should know what is going to happen, isn't it? So it is not possible to know what is going to happen in future. So it is only magician who know that, and therefore in order to know the right time for every action, one must consult magician. So if you want to know the right action for everything, you should consult a magician. So then only it is easier for you to find out the right time for every action. It is said by one set of learned men. Equally were the answers to the second question. So that's the answer for the first question. Now move on to the second question. What was the second question? Who are the most necessary people, isn't it? So for that, some said the people the king most needed were the counselors. So one set of learned men said, so that counselors were the most necessary people. And another set of learned men said priest. So priest na yarna mother bodhagar. ஸோ அவங்க தான் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா பெஸ்ட்டு நெசசரி பீப்புள்ன்ற மாதிரி சொல்கிறான். And then others said the doctors, and while others said warriors. So for these questions also the answer varies. So they gave different answers for this question also. To the third question, as to what was the most important occupation, what was the most important thing to do, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Others said it was skill in warfare, and other that it was religious worship. So for this also they gave different answers. All the answers being different, the king agreed with none of them and gave the reward to none. So he received different answers from different people, so that he was not satisfied with the answers. So he did not give reward for anyone. But still, wishing to find the right answers to his question, he decided to consult a hermit widely renowned for his wisdom. So but still he wanted to know the answer for these questions. So he decided to consult a hermit. So hermitனா யாருன்னா துறவி. ஸோ அந்த இடத்துல இருக்க ஒரு ஃபேமஸான துறவிக்கிட்ட போய் கேட்கலான்ட்டு he decided to consult a hermit. The hermit lived in a wood which he never quitted, and he received none but common folk. So the hermit who was lived in the wood. So wood here refers to forest. He was in the forest. He won't accept all the people. He received only the common people. So folk here refers to common people. So the king put on simple clothes, and before reaching the hermit's cells, dismounted from his horse, leaving his bodyguard behind. He went on alone. So knowing that he went there to meet hermit by wearing a simple clothes. He disguised himself as a simple man. ஸோ டிஸ்கைஸ்னால் என்னதுன்னா மாறு விஷயத்தில் போகிறது. கிங் மாதிரி போகாமல் ஒரு சாதாரண சிம்பிள் பர்சன் மாதிரி போகிறார். When the king approached, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. So when he reached that forest, when he reached that hut, he was digging the ground. ஸோ டிக்கிங்னா என்னதுன்னா தோண்டின்னு இருக்காரு. ஸோ எதை தோண்டின்னு இருக்காரு? கிரவுண்டு தோண்டின்னு இருக்காரு in front of his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. So on seeing that person, on seeing the king, he greeted him and he continued to dig the ground. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he struck his spade, into the ground and turned a little earth. He breathed heavily. So he was very weak. So he was not able to dig the ground continuously. So he was taking breath heavily. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer these three questions. So the king asked that three questions. He started to ask the three questions to that hermit. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I most need, and to whom should I therefore pay more attention than to the rest? And what were the most important and need my first attention? Again, he asked the three questions, the same questions. What are the questions? First question, what was the right time for every action? And then, who are the most important person? And then last one, what was the most important thing to do? So these are all the three questions. He wanted to know the answer for these questions. So he asked the same questions to the hermit. The hermit listened to the question but answered nothing. He just spat on his hand and recommenced digging. So he listened that question carefully, but he did not answer for that question. He continued to do the work. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work a while for you. So the king said, you are looking so tired, so give me the spade. I will dig the ground instead of you. You just go and take rest. Like that he said, and he got the spade from him. Thanks, said the hermit, and giving the spade to the king, he sat down on the ground. When he had done 2 bits, the king stopped and repeated the same question. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade, and said, so he started to digging the ground. After a few minutes, he asked the same question. I came here to know the answer for these questions. Like that, he repeated the same question. Now rest a while and let me work a bit. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and another. The sun began to sink behind the trees, and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, so he continuously digging the ground, isn't it? So for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, he continuously digging the ground, and at one point he got tired, and he stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise men, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me none, tell me, so I will return home. So I came here to know the answer for my question. If you know, tell me the answer for that, or otherwise I will return to my home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. So at that time, a hermit saw someone is running. So he saw. So what he said, let us see who it is. So that's the end of the section 1. I will see you in the section 2. So I hope this section is very useful for you. Thank you, students, and don't forget to watch my video 2. So then only it is easier for you to know whether you find out the answer for that questions or not. So thank you, students. Bye.